In the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, a compilation of over 1,000 years of Anglo-Saxon annals through the 12th century, an entry from the year 793 recounts, "This year came dreadful warnings over the land of the Northumbrians, terrifying the people most woefully. And on the 6th day before the Ides of January, the harrowing inroads of heathen men made lamentable havoc in the Church of God in Holy Island by rapine and slaughter." That church was a famed monastery on the island of Lindisfarne, home of the shrine of St. Cuthbert, one of England's most revered saints. And the so-called heathen men who attacked and ransacked the monastery, killing and enslaving the monks, were none other than the Vikings, Norse raiders who struck fear into the hearts of European rulers as they sailed the seas and rivers of the continent. According to Alcuin of York, writing in 793 from the court of Charlemagne, "Never before has such terror appeared in Britain as we have now suffered from a pagan race, nor was it thought that such an inroad from the sea could be made. Behold, the church of St. Cuthbert spattered with the blood of priests of God, the spoil of its ornaments, a place more venerable than all in Britain is given as prey to pagan peoples." The assault on Lindisfarne is one of the earliest recorded Viking attacks in the British Isles and Western Europe at large. Lindisfarne would mark the beginning of what historians term the Viking Age, which spanned from 793 until 1066 with the Norman conquest of England. While many Norsemen who went off a Viking explored and traded, contrary to their sinister representations in Anglo-Saxon sources, they were certainly opportunistic raiders, pillaging areas where treasure and wealth could be found. Christian monasteries were a lucrative target, as precious metals and other valuables could be found in large quantities in the form of silver chalices, gilt manuscripts, ivory crucifixes, and of course bejeweled reliquaries of saints, encased in silver and gold. Such treasure was an attraction for Vikings looking for portable wealth and fine goods to take back to Scandinavia for trading, personal fortune, and gifting, an integral part of Norse culture. Monasteries were also typically undefended and located in the remote islands and coasts of the North Sea, intentionally secluded from the rest of society on the mainland interiors. Their isolation left them vulnerable to attack, particularly those islands located on North Sea routes out of Scandinavia. Iona, the sacred island of St. Columba, was raided multiple times beginning in 795, eventually forcing the monks who survived to permanently flee. Other monasteries across the British Isles were subject to attack in the age, like the Abbey of Kells, which suffered multiple Viking assaults in the 10th century. The Viking attacks on monasteries only added to their fearsome reputations, as Christians beheld in horror that the Norse pagans held no respect for Christian holy places, burning churches and destroying or seizing Bibles. The Book of Kells, the famed illuminated manuscript dedicated to St. Columba, was itself an object of Viking looting, snatched from the church's shrine along with its opulent cover inlaid with precious metals and gemstones. The Annals of Ulsters recount that in the year 1007, the Gospel was wickedly stolen in the night, only to be discovered months later, discarded in a field with its bejeweled cover cut away, and restored to the monastery. Even saints' relics were not safe, with the reliquaries stolen and the relics desecrated, or even ransomed once the Vikings knew of their value to Christian rulers. After the assault on Lindisfarne, for example, in 875, St. Cuthbert's remains were transferred, along with the majority of the monks, to a more secure location in the interior of Northumbria. Along with their plundering, the Vikings were also intent on exploring the coasts of the British Isles, occasionally establishing small settlements, like what is now the city of Dublin, founded in the 10th century. As the Vikings' focus shifted from exploratory raids to conquering and colonization, a great army invaded England in 865, taking control of northern England and ruling over an area known as the Danelaw. So here you have a 12th century Scandinavian illumination of the invasion of England. Norsemen retained some form of political power in England until 1066, with the Norman conquest, which coincides with the conversion of Scandinavia to Christianity in the 11th century. The end of the Viking Age had come, and with it their threat to Christian monasteries. Vikings played a key role in shaping the geography of Christian monasticism in the British Isles, illustrating that Western Christianity cannot be understood independent of its larger European context, even in the case of monasticism. Celtic monks sought to separate themselves from temporal affairs, yet the secular world, in the form of a pillaging Viking, would not grant monastics the isolation they so desired.